Today, we're going to talk about our Calvet Farm and Home Loan Program. Before I bring up that information and introduce our guest speakers, we're also going to run through a few housekeeping items. So Happy New Year to you all. This is our first call for January 2016. Typically, we do these calls at the first Monday of every month at 10 a.m. We did push this back a week, so we're doing this call, our January call today, because we know what it's like to come back from the holiday season and right after New Year's. Who wants to be on a call early in the morning? So we decided to do this call today. But going forward, you'll be able to participate in these calls on the first Monday of every month, and we always announce these calls via our listserv as well as our Facebook page. You can also look at any of our archived webinars through our website, which is calvet.ca.gov/women veterans. And if you click our Around California tab, you can go to our monthly produced webinars. So for a few housekeeping items, please remember to mute your phones so that we don't have too much feedback from callers. We are using our Join Me software today, so you can go onto our web-based portal and you can actually view the PowerPoint slides. You can also ask questions or make comments through our chat window through this service. If you're calling in and you don't have access to the Join Me software, that's okay as well, because you can see these archived PowerPoints later on. So a couple of announcements from the Calvet Women Vets Division. Certainly it's the beginning of a new year and we are off and running already. We will be hosting a March reception in honor of Women's Military History Week, which is proclaimed by Governor Brown on the third week of March each year. So we'll have a reception that we're already working on right around between the 16th and 18th of March here in Sacramento. There will also be lots of events going on for women in the month of March all throughout the state. So you can come to our website or look at our Facebook page, Calvet Women Veterans, to get more information on events going on all throughout California that you may want to attend. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and start our call. What we're going to do is have two guest speakers from our great Farm and Home Loan Program. They're going to kind of cover some basics about the program, and then we'll begin a session where we can ask some questions. I'll ask a few questions, and then you all as callers can ask questions as well. We're going to reserve most of our calls to the topic at hand. If you need to contact us about any other issues, you can email us at womenveterans@calvet.ca.gov, and you can also contact our main line, 916-653-1402, for any other questions or issues you may be having today. So with that, I'd like to introduce our first speaker, Walt Sanders. Walt works in our Farm and Home Loan Division and is one of our loan originators. Walt is also a Marine Corps veteran, so hoorah to any veterans on the call, any Marine Corps veterans on the call. I know we have a couple. There we go. Great response. And Walt has been in the loan industry for at least 20 years, if not longer, in the mortgage industry. He actually, after completing his enlistment, returned here to California, or remained in California, and used his VA loan, the VA loan guarantee, for his first home loan purchase. And through that, began working with veterans in the mortgage industry.
Correct.
And so Walt has been specializing in helping veterans buy homes for decades. I personally can attest to this, as I just went through the process of using a Calvet home loan, and Walt was great and super helpful for me the whole time. And he's been here at Calvet after working in the private mortgage industry, owning his own business, working in mortgages. He now has joined us and has worked here at Calvet for several years, and I think really enjoys the mission of serving his fellow veterans. So Walt's here to do a good portion of our presentation today, but we also have Lisa Rogers here with us, and Lisa works in the loan origination and underwrite lending unit as well. I'm still learning some of the terminology, loan processing, and Lisa has been in the mortgage industry for over 2 decades as well, and is incredibly devoted to the folks here at Calvet and to serving our veterans. I also worked personally with Lisa on my home loan and had a wonderful experience with that as well. So these are just 2 great individuals who are very knowledgeable and experienced on both the Calvet home loan program, but also in the private mortgage and lending industry. So they're a wealth of knowledge, and we're really excited to have them here today. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and have Walt talk a little bit about our program.
Yeah, thanks, Lindsay. I really appreciate that intro. If you're on the website, we're going to cover some slides here, a PowerPoint presentation. And I'm basically going to hit just the high points on the slide because you can view that later. I just want to add some stuff that I feel is very special about our program. Calvet has been around a while, established in 1921. And what's really important about our home loan division is that it's at no cost to the taxpayers, and it's been that way for the past 93 years. We've had hundreds of thousands of veterans that we've helped since it started. And, you know, it's a little bit of a unique situation in that we're a direct lender. And I think that confuses people because we are a state agency. But our money comes from the bonds that are state or voter approved. And as a direct lender, that means that we originate the loans here, we actually process and underwrite the loans here, fund them, and we service the loans. So it always stays with Calvet. We found that a lot of people really, really like that aspect of it. The loan's never sold. You know who you're talking to, and we know your file completely. One of the first things that most people inquire about is eligibility. And so we have a list here, and we will always evaluate your individual situation by looking at your DD-214 or a 256 if you served in the reserves. But it gives a list here. It's basically received an honorable or equivalent, general or better discharge with honorable conditions, 90 consecutive days, or if it's not the 90 days, been within an expeditionary or campaign medal, called to duty by presidential executive order, or discharged for a service-connected disability. So there are situations where we have veterans that may have only served one qualifying day and still will have the benefit for a home. We also work with current active duty military and active duty reserve components. So anyway, that meets the definition of a veteran. So like I said, we will evaluate your individual paperwork. We have some other eligible groups, and we don't see a lot of this, but they are eligible. The Women Air Force's service pilots, the Merchant Marine seamen from World War II, civil service crew members above Army and Navy transport service vessels, also the commissioned officers in the Public Health Service, and members of the Philippine Commonwealth Army and Special Philippine Scouts, and then members of the military reserve components that are currently active duty. They typically have to have served, for our criteria now, served 1 year on a 6-year contract. That's who we work with for the reserves. So the other thing, after establishing eligibility, we also want to look at what you have to qualify. So it's property and the veteran qualifying. Some of the loan requirements is being credit worthy. Now this is really something that where Calvet, I think, absolutely excels. We have defined it as that we focus on complex credit issues. That's a specialty of ours. What does that mean? Well, the first thing people typically will ask us is what credit scores needed. Well, we don't actually use credit scores. So we're evaluating credit on a case-by-case basis, and we look at the total package. The property has to be owner-occupied. It must be in California, so we do not lend outside of the state. The property has to have certain minimum property standards, and that's defined by the VA guidelines. And it's single-family residences, which can include condominium or a PUD, a planned unit development, farms, and then mobile homes on foundations. And we also have a program where we loan on mobile homes and rental parks, which is rather unique also. The loan limits is going to vary. We have for most part, everyone's familiar with the VA limits that mimic Fannie Mae, and that's established each year by the federal government, and it applies to the entire United States, but it goes county to county. So typically, there's 58 counties in California. 34 of those counties use a $417,000 limit by the federal government, but we actually go 125% of that. So we will go up to $521,250. We found that this is a great benefit because many counties in California are high cost, and so this helps a lot of our veterans still do 100% loan in an area where they could not find any other type financing for that. The highest loan limit that we have in some of our high-cost counties is $781,875. We also go to a maximum of $625,500 for a farm loan, and there's some very specific criteria for the farm loans. We do a maximum of $175,000 for a mobile home in a park, and up to $125,000 for a home improvement loan. The home improvement loan is kind of a unique program. We do that. We only do it for someone that has a calvet loan, or if their house is paid in full. So many people will continue with us even after their home is paid with home improvement loans. It maintains our current insurance program, and it covers many things that, obviously we have the file. I think it's a little easier to work with us. So when we do this, people that may need a roof replacement, some modifications to their homes. So it really is a tremendous program. And all of our loans now are, with the exception of the home improvement loans, can be 30-year fixed rate. We also can offer a 15 and a 20-year loan. And then our home improvement loans are based on the amount of the loan. And so it ranges anywhere from a couple of years up to 15 years. And again, I want to emphasize that all this stuff is on the web. So I know we're going through it rather fast, and it's a lot of detailed information, but it's there on the web. It's on our website, and you can call or email any of us in the home loan department.
All right.
For your
this lady's going to call you on your cell phone because I got the house phone tied up. She's calling from Module 3.
Okay, ma'am. Can you make sure to mute your phone, please? Thank you. And then we will also give the website, our website, and our home loan phone number, loan origination unit, at the end of this PowerPoint as well.
Sure.
So please continue
on. We kind of covered this with the eligible properties. We have some other programs, too, that are very unique. We do construction loans. We also have rehabilitation loans. And the rehabilitation loan it's similar to, it goes up to 97% loan to value. And it can be used for fixing up properties. We don't typically, it complies with our regular loan limits. So it's a very unique program. If you have something like that, the best thing to do is just call one of us so we can go over the very specific information for you on the house you're looking at. The home improvement loans, those are, as we said before, $150,000 maximum. And again, we kind of determine which program you fall into. We have two different bond programs, qualified mortgage bonds and qualified veteran mortgage bonds. A little bit, it's fairly simple, but it's on the website. It's if you've been out of the service less than 25 years, you're eligible for the qualified veterans mortgage bond. And if it's over 25 years, it's a qualified mortgage bond. Just a little difference in the way those are handled. And the other thing with a VA loan and calvet loan, it can be used more than once. A lot of times people think if they've used it, they can no longer use it. But as long as it's paid off and the eligibility is restored, we can use that again. And sometimes we can actually use partial eligibility in the event that the VA loan was used, and millions of people have gone through the mortgage bust from 2008 through about 2012-13. So if the VA was tied up on another property, we still may be able to help. And if it's completely tied up, we also have strictly a calvet loan that we can do for a vet. So anyway, all this stuff can be accessed through our website, which is showing here, which is the calvet.ca.gov. And you can also reach us with a phone call, 1-800-952-LOAN, which is 5626. So it's 1-800-952-5626.
Well, thank you so much, Walt. We were able to go through that presentation pretty quickly, which is great because I think it gives people the information they need. And now I think we can kind of get to the meat of the webinar, which is to hear a little bit from our participants. I'm going to ask some questions first, everybody, that I think are great things to clarify, good points of information, and then we'll take some questions from you all on the phone. So some of the first questions I have, obviously this is a very different program in the state that's offered at the federal level, but I think in my experience working here at Calvet, along with other people I know, people don't understand the difference between the VA home loan guarantee at the federal level and the Calvet loan. So can you speak a little bit about the differences there?
Sure. Well, it typically, what I try to bring up to people is not so much Calvet versus VA, because we actually use the VA guarantee. It's actually Calvet versus a private lender. because we are a public agency and we are a direct lender. So what the real difference is the way we approach the file, the way we look at the veteran client. It's the only thing that we do. We don't do any other type loans except for veterans, so we absolutely understand the veteran population. We understand the different types of income that veterans have that sometimes is confusing to outside lenders. Whether it's a stipend, a military retirement, disability, school benefits. We understand all those items and how they work in with the home qualifying. With Calvet, as I mentioned, if the VA eligibility is available, we do use that, and that's how we offer 100% financing. We do not require a credit score. We do require acceptable credit, which is usually defined as 12 months of good payments. We look at some other things there, but again, we go case by case, and we like to encourage all veterans to apply. So the biggest thing is don't disqualify yourself. Turn the stuff into us. Let us look at it, because if you're not qualified at the moment, what we like to do is at least give a plan. Outline what has to be done so you can qualify down the road. So, that again is a different perspective. We're not here just looking to, close a loan to make money. We're here to help the veteran become a homeowner, and if they can't become a homeowner today, what will it take down the road?
Okay. I think it's also important to mention that we do a true manual underwrite. So we're actually looking at the file on a case-by-case basis instead of just running it through an automated system, which is what 90% of the lenders do nowadays. We actually have eyes looking at every piece of information in the file, and if there's a way to do a loan for you, we will figure it out.
Wow.
Yeah, many of our files have, we'll collect letters. We can listen to the situation, what happened. If there's a unique credit issue in the past, we can have a letter of explanation for that many times. If it makes sense, if the situation is now where, we have an eligible and qualified veteran, but, issues occurred that would stop them from a private lender, we close many loans like that.
Okay.
And then the flip, we also have the uniqueness in the fact that we are exceeding the regular VA limits by 125%, up to 100%.
Right.
And then the other flip side is if we have someone with eligibility that is tied up, either through a rental property back east, lost the house through a foreclosure, we also offer calvet financing, which requires a small down payment, but anywhere from 97% loan to value, and none of our programs, none of them have mortgage insurance. So there's no monthly mortgage insurance on any of their loans.
And so that was one thing I wanted to discuss a little bit. I knew of this benefit as a staff member here, but didn't know some of the nuances and details until I started to go through this process with you all. And as I explained it to my husband, who was a non-veteran, why this was the loan I wanted to use, a lot of it came down to the better benefits that Calvet has, and so that included the mortgage insurance.
Sure. When you talk about doing a high loan-to-value loan, and most of our loans are 100% financing, but you have 97% to 100% financing, there's not a comparable 100% loan in the conventional world, but a high loan-to-value usually has a very steep, expensive monthly mortgage insurance.
Right.
And many times we'll have a higher interest rate.
Right.
So we typically will have a better interest rate in that program without the monthly mortgage insurance.
And that also includes earthquake and flood insurance, which here in California are two much more expensive policies that many homeowners are required to get. And it's all incorporated into this great cost.
Oh, sure. I'm helping a veteran now in San Jose with a refinance, and he carried earthquake insurance with another carrier, a national carrier, and upon looking at our insurance, realized we were a much better program for what he was doing, so he was really impressed with that.
Wow. Yeah, that was just a fantastic benefit. The fact that you don't have to necessarily put 20% down if you use the loan guarantee, so you can use a VA loan guarantee, but you're limited on what you can get, what you're lendable for, and then you can not put 20% down, which is usually what kills people, especially if you're not a first-time home buyer and you don't qualify for the first-time home buyers program. You can still use that Calvet loan, maybe put less down and still get a great home that you were looking for, especially here in California with rates, just the home prices that are so much higher than everywhere else.
Elevated, yes.
Yeah.
Well, and plus it's important to mention that if you're a disabled veteran, there is no funding fee. The
Right.
funding fee is waived if you're 10% or more disabled.
Mm-hmm.
That's an important factor.
So the VA funding fee, that's with the VA home loan guarantee. There are some stipulations and criteria that have to be addressed when you do
Right.
get a VA loan guarantee with these
Mhm.
loans.
Right.
But the funding fee is, if you're 10% or more, that's a fantastic benefit too. So
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, so as we mentioned, several times about the flexibility with looking at credit and looking at the total package, we have flexibility with the properties as well. I've seen many times where we'll make a determination on a property that in my private career would have been a transaction that would not have completed. So we're able to look at properties sometimes and determine it's still a good property, maybe a minor issue that we can work with. So we just have that flexibility that is unparalleled in the rest of the market.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true in the numbers. So the home loan program has done over $100 million out in loans just in fiscal year 15-16. That might be total package, but now we're up to over $100 million in lending.
120, I believe.
120,
Yeah.
okay, even bigger. And we currently have about 5,600 loans in the portfolio, so veterans are using this benefit.
Yes.
Now, if any of you have followed how the home loan program here at Calvet has worked, prior to 2008, many veterans were not eligible for this benefit because it required specific changes in statute and really the beginning of a new bond program to make the vast majority of California veterans eligible. And since then, now that the housing market has really begun to rebound, our loan amounts have just increased exponentially. I think we're up to 335 loans for fiscal year 15, which I think we were at a total of probably 80 loans
Correct.
in 2011, 2012. So
Sure.
the workload has increased for you guys
Sure.
significantly, but we want veterans to know about this benefit because it's really incredible.
It's a very important point you're bringing up because, veterans of my age, Lindsay mentioned the decades I've done that.
Sorry.
But it's true because at that time you had to be from California, have wartime experience, et cetera. And today, if you're a veteran with the eligibility that we've just discussed and you're buying a home in California, that's all that's required.
Mm-hmm.
So you join the service in any other state, exit at any other state. If you're moving to California and you're a qualifying eligible veteran, you can get a Calvet loan.
Right. Yeah, which is great. There's not the same residency requirements as other benefits that the state of California offers to Californians, period.
Right.
So that's fantastic.
However, you do have to occupy the property.
Right.
Yeah.
It does have to be your primary residence.
Yeah.
Yes, very important. Only primary, single family, as we mentioned, a condominium, and it has to be an approved condominium.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll check on that for you. So if you're looking at condominiums, the first thing to do is call us if you want to use your VA, because we do need to verify it's VA approved. And we mentioned the minimum property standards and our flexibility. Sometimes that's a point that can scare industry folks, such as realtors, away from our program without really understanding that. It is really for the veterans' benefit, and we really want to emphasize that completely. A VA appraiser is just really going to establish the value, and if they call out any kind of work or issues with the property, it's typically stuff that is visual and that you would have noticed and you would want called out. With a whole house inspection, which is maybe, something that real estate agent is going to suggest and recommend, we do also, you're going to find much more with a property than you would on a VA appraisal.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really nothing to be afraid of.
Yeah, and that was my experience. I was lucky enough, I think, to have a realtor and a seller's agent who were not gun-shy about doing a VA loan guarantee or a Calvet loan, which is really great, because I know that's not everyone's experience. But additionally, any Section 1 work that was required to be done on the property by the VA loan guarantee, well, it was already done, which made us feel better as home buyers that we weren't.
Right.
And we had to do the home inspection anyway, so we felt like we were getting. We knew that the property was a good fit for us.
And what you're referring to, Lindsay, is the termite inspection, which is required, and that is required on all VA transactions, a clear pest inspection. So when we say pest, it's a termite company. They check for three things. They check for dry rot, water damage, and infestation. And, you know, as a home buyer, regardless of what type of financing you have, I can't even imagine purchasing a home in California without a pest inspection.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah.
So it's just
Absolutely.
important, very, very important.
Absolutely. Yeah, so it kind of helps that there's a requirement there that it has to be done, so no one's going to be able to talk you out of it, so that's good.
It is good.
I think it's also important to mention that it's very important to have a good real estate agent who represents you well and isn't afraid of VA
Yeah.
loans like Lindsay
Yeah.
mentioned, because that's an important part of, is finding the right real estate agent
Yeah.
that's not afraid to write an offer with a Calvet loan.
Yeah.
Correct.
That's a great segue, Lisa. That was another question I had for you all. I know that when I went through this process with both of you, although I've purchased a home previously, it was a decade ago, it was a very different circumstance, and I didn't have a lot of the knowledge that made me comfortable in this process, and you guys were able to answer a lot of questions about the home buying picture and kind of process overall.
Right.
So what tips do you have for people looking at purchasing a home? Now you're not allowed as a state agency to
Sure.
give actual recommendations on some things, but
We can, but
in
you
your
know,
own-
even before we cover that, I'd like to add one thing, because you
Sure.
made a very important point.
Mhm.
It's been a decade and you weren't that familiar with it.
yeah,
So what we like to really get across to all of our veterans is that, you know, you call up, don't be intimidated by the process. I mean, I explain it this way. If I were to come to your place of work, in 10 minutes you show me around, and then a week later expect me to do your job, that would be ridiculous. And so it's the same thing with a loan. You may only do 4 or 5 in your lifetime, maybe the first time you've ever done it. So when we talk to you on the phone and have that initial conversation and going over benefits, please, you can ask me the same thing 50 times. It doesn't matter. It's not your job. It's my job to help you understand. So no matter how many times we cover it, we'll keep covering it until it's really clear and understandable. So I just, you know, please feel that way about it.
that's great. Yeah, and I definitely had that experience with you all. It was, I could come back with multiple questions and not be worried that I wasn't going to get a good answer, so,
Appreciate that.
yeah.
I would say it's important to gather your financial documentation if you're planning to get a pre-approval.
Yes.
Mhm.
We are going to need pay stubs, taxes, W-2s, bank statements, and it's all going to need to be current. And we are going to ask you for a lot of paperwork, so just be prepared for that. We're going to need your landlord history. We need to make sure that you've been paying your rent on time. There's a lot of different things that we're going to ask for, and just want to, help you to be prepared.
Yeah, and the big tip there is to redo pre-approval. So we want to pre-approve you before ever looking at a house or talking to a realtor. This way, if there's anything that is going to be a snag or prevent you from becoming a homeowner immediately, we can address. And again, get you on track to take care of that. So it's really critical for us to do that up front. The initial part of it, like Lisa said, it is a lot of documentation. Many times, though, without the tax returns, we don't have to have those unless you're self-employed or you own a rental property. So sometimes that's a little bit, that can help with just the W-2s. I mean, that can make the
Sure.
process easier. So, pay stubs,
They're all
W-2s, bank
together,
statements, right.
typically, though.
Yeah.
So, the other tip, in talking about a real estate agent, I've said this many times, you want someone negotiating for you, not on you. And so if they're trying to convince you to not go VA and telling you all the reasons to not use your benefit, that's probably a good indicator that you might need to check with a different real estate agent.
Yeah.
And I know it's difficult to do sometimes because when you meet someone, if you like them, but understand, you have an earned benefit. This is not a handout. It's not a government subsidy. It's an earned benefit. And we've talked about many of the benefits here. So you want someone that kind of appreciates that as well and is willing to go out that extra step for you and make that presentation and make your offer as attractive as possible. Really and truly, 100% financing, the way I explain it to people, agents will say, well, they're looking for cash. Well, at the end of the day, the loan's going to provide them the same amount of money.
Mhm.
So it's just understanding that we have a process that you have to go through, and we have been closing escrows literally in 30 to 40 days.
Yeah.
I would say the last 2 years it probably averaged 30 days.
Yeah.
We have to comply with the new federal laws for disclosure, so it's added just a few days to the process.
Mhm.
But again, that is the thing that's happened throughout the industry, so we're still at industry norms for closing escrows.
Yeah. Yeah, certainly I know that in the past, people have been concerned about the VA loan guarantee on the federal side, how long that takes, the fact that there's a window of time to get the home appraisal done by the VA loan inspectors, but from my experience and then others I've talked to, that's happening very quickly to allow a 30 to 40-day escrow. And ours was
Correct.
a 30-day close of escrow, and we had no issues. So
Yeah.
it's definitely, I mean, that's always kind of what I think is in the back of people's minds or their realtors' minds. Or
Yes. We're always concerned with time frames.
Yes, but it's changed a lot.
It has changed a lot.
Yeah.
And so the VA appraisers have, at least in our region, have 7 business days to complete a VA appraisal. It's 7 business days after the order date. So as Lisa tells people, it's about 2 weeks, about 10 days. That's because it includes some calendar days in there. But the business days are Monday through Friday. And we found the appraisers, I would say 99% of the time, make the time frame.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's been going pretty smooth. And typically that fits within the inspection timeframes of the contract. The only time we have any issue is if an agent's trying to shorten those timeframes from the standard verbiage in the real estate contracts in California. The standard verbiage is 17 days. And so that's to have the appraisal and contingencies removed. And so we found that to be a fairly doable timeframe.
Yeah.
So it's going pretty smooth.
That's great to hear. That's great to hear. Any other tips that, I mean, definitely find a realtor with your interest in mind. Don't be afraid to ask a lot of questions.
A lot of questions.
Have all your paperwork together for your pre-approval, and the pre-approval is key. And it sounds like that's a common lending practice now across
common
institutions.
across the board.
Yeah.
It's important to have your DD-214.
Have your DD-214.
That is going to be one of the biggest things in order to determine eligibility as well.
Sure.
Interest rate.
And the best place to get your DD-214, if you don't have that record of military services with the National Archives, and all that information can be accessed through our website, and we can also walk people through that process.
That's
too.
correct.
So.
Yeah, it's been moving pretty fast. I mean, it's been, you know, 2 to 4 weeks, I think, for most of the people that have to order DD-214.
Right.
So I recall when I first got it, it was months, and so now it's weeks, so it's going a lot faster. We will actually order the certificate of eligibility, which, you know, shows that if you have the VA eligibility. It's a process we do electronically, and about half the time we have that instantly, and the other half it takes about another week to actually get it from VA. So again, those are going pretty fast.
Right. Right.
So the pre-approval is key, and one other thing, just to go over that, many times in talking to loan officers, you know, from the major institutions, they will do what's called a pre-qualification, which is basically just going on verbal information and maybe looking at your credit. We actually require the documentation because we issue a pre-approval. So usually when we do a pre-approval, if that pre-approval, nothing changes by the time we issue it and the purchasing of a home, we typically will close that loan. And so it's a lot stronger than any pre-qualification. And then we're willing to also speak with your realtor, the listing agent. You know, we try to give a lot of support there so that we can help the process go smoothly and make sure you get an offer accepted.
Absolutely. Yeah, I had a lot of questions, and some of them were just downright ridiculous, but I felt like you guys were able to help walk us through that process overall and explain the lending and home purchase process. So I think that's a great benefit that you don't necessarily get at other institutions. You know, I don't think it's quite as personal, and I don't think the mission is as important as it is with our Calvet program.
It makes it easier for us because we're only doing one thing. We're not trying to memorize, you know, 50 different programs and understand a lot of different things that are changing daily.
Right.
So it really does make it much easier for us to give the correct information.
And it's not about the bottom line necessarily
That's
either.
Correct.
You know, this is a great, at no cost to taxpayer benefit. Obviously, it has to be a healthy and robust program to continue, but it's certainly gone well. I think our home loan program in unit is one of the most successful we have here at Calvet, so that's great.
That's great to hear.
Now, we've covered quite a bit of just tidbits here and there. How about, if we haven't covered it yet, are there any kind of top 3 questions you get from people that you speak with regularly, Walt or Lisa, that you think are important to mention?
Well, I think we primarily have mentioned it. The number one question I receive is what credit score do we require, which we don't.
Right.
And that's, you know, that's just the way of qualifying today. So everyone asked about a credit question. They'll ask, you know, about realtors. And again, if we know of someone in an area, we can certainly, you know, suggest maybe talking to them. We can't technically recommend someone.
Right.
What do you think, Lisa?
Well, I think one of the main things is that you are going to need some money up front. That's pretty important. You are going to need money for an appraisal, and we do charge that up front. you're gonna wanna have money for a home inspection. But the main thing is if you are gonna be writing an offer with a real estate agent, you are going to need what's called an earnest money deposit. And that's anywhere from $100 to 2% of the purchase price.
Yes.
So those monies you will have to have available in your account before you start the process.
Yeah. And, you know, many times a veteran will call me and ask about that. It's nothing that we require as Calvet, but it's just an accepted practice in real estate, because when you make an offer, you have to have what's called consideration. So the real estate agents are going to ask you to have some good faith deposit or earnest money deposits, called both terms, to provide with your offer that actually goes into escrow. And so if your offer is accepted, that money will, the check, usually as a check, will be cashed, and the money will be held in escrow until the close of escrow. So even if we do 100% financing, and even if your closing costs are paid by the seller, as Lisa mentioned, you have to have some cash up front, which would come back to you at the close of escrow if it's written up that way.
Okay. Not always, but it could come back to you, possibly.
Okay. And then just one point of clarification that I know we get some questions on here too, in terms of refinancing. We're not able to refinance the Calvet loan, but someone that has an outside loan, that they can qualify for our refinancing program. That's a common question.
Can I add something about the real estate?
Yeah.
It's really important that your real estate agent works in conjunction with us here at Calvet, because there are some very important, you know, particulars that need to be put in the contract. That so they need to speak before you consider putting in offers on properties.
Yeah. So really, so that's a great segue too into how does one apply. So let's start with that. What's the best way to start this process?
We have a super simple way to start the process with Calvet. It's on our website, and it's apply online, and it literally is a 3-minute application. Probably you can go faster than 3 minutes. It's basically just asking your personal information, name, address, social, date of birth, you know, the information that we need to start the program for you, and permission to actually check your credit. Usually once you do that, it's entered into our system, and our website says within 3 days. We're trying to speed that up a little bit. And so we always tell people, if you are in a situation that needs to move faster, make a phone call in addition to the online application. Talk to one of us, and we'll speed that up for you. But once that occurs, then we will be in contact with you to collect your documentation. And, you know, Lisa mentioned that. It's fairly straightforward. It's 30 days of pay stubs, the last 2 months of bank statements, the last 2 years W-2s, and tax returns in the event of owning a business or a rental property, and then a DD-214. So those items, when you do apply online, you have an automatic response from us that will also give a list of those items. So it's something that you're going to see several times, and then I typically will send an email with my contact information. So we try to make it as easy as possible to start. Usually after receiving your information, we're going to have a phone call with you for about 5 to 10 minutes, and at that point should have all the information we need to go ahead and move forward and make a decision for you.
Okay.
Yeah, so it really is simple starting.
Okay, great. So apply online, submit that first form.
Right.
Call if you think you're going to have some questions or processes.
And you know, if we have veterans there that have special needs or just aren't really don't want to do it online or with a computer, those applications can be mailed in to us. A phone call with a phone call, we'll mail you a package. It can be mailed back to us. People that want to, we have veterans that come in here in person. We can also take that information over the phone and input it for you.
Great.
So we try to cover it every single way.
Right, absolutely.
Online, by mail, by phone, in person.
Okay. And so the loan, the number, if you're looking to contact our unit, is 800-952-5626 or 800-952-LOAN. And then our website is calvet.ca.gov. If you select our programs tab, then you can see that first link is Calvet Home Loan Program, and then go directly to their website. You can also just type in Calvet Home Loans into your Google or Firefox or Safari browser and be able to bring that up right away, or even Internet Explorer.
And just make sure on the government website.
Yeah, so it's going to be the ca.gov.
Yes.
.gov's
important.
ca.gov is the URL there. Yeah, very important. Very important. Well, let's see if we have any questions from our participants. Would anybody like at this time to ask anything specific about to our experts here about our home loan program?
I would.
Okay.
Hello?
Yes.
I would. Hi, I am a Vietnam veteran. I'm also a career person who was diagnosed with PTSD and bipolar later on in my career, and never really thought to be anything about being a vet. I have recently, I'm 100% disabled. I contacted the Lighthouse program, and had a rep go through with me what to do. I live in a 14-unit building that I've lived in for 10 years, and the neighbors are all younger now, and it kind of has escalated my stress condition.
Okay.
And so I can't, get quiet and, things that I depend on during the day to help me stay calm.
Okay.
So anyway, so far they've had me get a credit card. I didn't have any credit history because I was in debt for so long, a lot of my things fell off.
Right.
So last year I was able to qualify for a Capital One credit card.
Okay.
That I had and I have had an account with them consistently now, and so since going to the VA and you guys helping me, I've been able to stabilize my life a lot more.
Fantastic.
I've also been able to set up an automatic pay program with Capital One to pay my credit card every month, so I don't have to worry about going into default or not being on time because, again, I don't have any credit history. The other thing is that I got engaged, and my guy is not a vet. I'm the vet, and he's also, and we're both creative type people, and I totally depend on my monthly stipend. So, and his income is a creative type person's income. So that's where I am now. So
Okay.
that's what's going on.
So are you basically just wondering how you would go about qualifying or start or?
I've already started to some degree. As I said, I signed with the Lighthouse program for vets, but I didn't know anything about the calvet program. I just decided to get on the webinar because I am home every day and I use the internet and I do read my emails and try to be as functional as I can.
Sure.
To some degree, and so I try to keep up with. And when I found out you have a webinar, which is fairly easy for me to do, I joined and just am getting wind of this now.
Sure.
So what we can do, well, first of all, thank you very much for your service.
Thank you.
And it sounds like you are in stable housing now, but maybe wanting to look at something else. And so
I have to move. My current situation is with new people moving in. It's starting to work against my health, and
Sure.
I've got myself kind of calm and balanced in my appropriate meds and stuff like that. And so I simply can't. I feel like I can't breathe in my own apartment when people are above my head, and I can't get them to be quiet. At 3 and 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what's going on.
Okay.
Your income is qualifying income, so that's good. And as I mentioned before, you really don't need a credit score. I mean, that the fact that you have the Capital One is good, but we also use alternate credit, meaning that when you count your rent and how you've paid your rent where you're at now.
Yes. I've been here 10 years.
You probably have utilities in your name or maybe a cell phone.
I do, yes. All of that, yes.
Yes,
So
we use those things to establish your credit, so you don't have to have any other consumer credit. We can actually use alternate credit to credit qualify you.
Okay.
And do you receive any other income other than the VA disability? Do you receive Social Security?
I receive a VA. My income is a combination of VA state disability and VA disability.
So there's probably...
And so I have two of those incomes together monthly that are automatically deposited into my account. The interesting thing I just want to make a note of is that I was a career person prior to completely falling apart and discovering that I had some issues. But and I segued from not being able to work in an office and all of that to subtly painting and writing. I had been a journalist for some time and trying to stay active and do some of those things, which at some point could offer additional streams of income for me.
Okay. So how about this? Why don't we give you some of our contact information to reach out to the Women Veterans Division, and then what we'll do is go over a few programs for which you may be eligible, including our home loan program. There may be other options out there, just to ensure that we're getting all your needs met.
Okay, and I already know where I want to live. I don't drive, and I'm going back to an area that I used to live in, actually, and I don't drive, and I have to be, right now, it's affordable that I can go back and forth to the VA ambulatory care center, which I go to frequently, and I am in a general area that I can walk and get to places fairly quickly, so I'm not going to move way out somewhere that's going to stress me out, and do things that I can't handle. So that's
absolutely. So will you do me a favor? Can you call our
sure.
main line, 916-653-1402, and then that way I can sit down with you over the phone and we can talk a little bit about some of your options.
Sure. It's 916-653-14002.
Correct.
Okay, got it. Is there an extension by chance?
Nope. Just call that directly.
Okay. Thanks. And who am I to ask for?
Lindsay. This is Lindsay Sin, Deputy Secretary for Women Veterans Affairs. So
okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Lindsay. Okay.
You're welcome. So this is a great example, I think, of where homeownership not only is it's great to own your own home, but I think is also a good benefit to our veterans that may need an alternative living option. So,
sure.
It is nice to be able to be in your own standalone single unit house and detached home and not have to deal with stuff that neighbors and things like that.
And I have a mental condition, and it's escalated, and now they've got to change my medication because I have younger neighbors that it's just they don't care, and the landlord only gets involved to a certain degree, and so I'm having to kind of pressurize myself under already being a pressured type personality, and it's kind of starting to kind of bother me. So I'm starting to become reactive to it, and I'm trying not to do that, throw myself out of balance. So.
Right. Yeah, well, we'll definitely sit down and have a phone call for sure. So.
Okay, thank you. I truly appreciate that.
You're very welcome. Does anybody else have any questions at this time? We're about 4 or 5 minutes out from wrapping up our call in the interest of everybody's time here, but I'd like to take 1 or 2 more questions. Anyone?
Lindsay, I have, I have 3 quick questions
Sure,
okay. I have some for other people who couldn't make the call.
Okay.
1, is it possible to find out the amount that you can qualify for to purchase a home? 2, if you have a tax issue and can prove that you're paying on it, can you still qualify? And 3, this is actually my question. Someone told me, in purchasing a home, is it possible that you can roll furniture into your loan?
Okay.
Wow, those are interesting
All good questions.
questions. Yeah.
The first one, the tax issue, that was your second question, but that was a real easy one. If there's a repayment plan, we typically want to see 6 months of repayment and good repayment plan on that. So yes, we will work with someone that has tax liens or tax issues. And then your question about, or the first question about qualifying, we absolutely will tell them. I mean, a lot of times veterans will put an amount they want to qualify for, and we'll see if we can do that. If they apply online without an amount, then we will typically just calculate the maximum they could qualify for. So we absolutely will give them an amount based on their particular situation.
The third one. Oh, and unfortunately, you can't finance any furniture in a home loan, but after your loan closes, you could go get a credit card at a furniture store and buy some furniture. That's the only option.
Yeah.
You do not allow furniture to be financed.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, do they allow a stipend for somebody that's disabled or has an extraordinary situation to have a stipend for that?
Stipend for, you mean for the furniture?
Yes, a stipend for things inside of the home that can help the veteran. We're aging. I'm not going to get younger. I'm going to get older. I don't know how my condition will advance, and it can advance. It's a neural condition.
Sure.
So what?
Yeah. There's nothing available through our home loan program for furniture, but a couple programs that you may want to look into. One is rehabilitative loan, correct, for modifications made to a home for disabled veterans.
Yeah, that would not be through us, but VA.
Oh, okay. So VA has, the federal VA has a home modification program if you're needing to make modifications to your home to support your, say, limited mobility, for instance, or a specific condition, then that can be done through VA. And then additionally, there is for emergency situations, there is limited assistance available through the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, through the Supportive Services for Veterans and Families grant. And several organizations run those grants all throughout California, and we can give you more information about that when we speak with you over the phone. So I hope that answers your question. And then going back to you, Irene, hopefully that answered your 3 questions. Yeah, if trust me, if they'd had the option to purchase furniture, I would have done it, because that was, oh boy.
Well, I understand. When I got told that, I'm like, that doesn't sound right, but I thought I'd ask.
Yeah. No, unfortunately, it's not, sadly. But I think some of the cost savings you have up front with this type of a loan, I mean, obviously you're always going to have a greater expenditure you have to work into your budget when you buy a home, because there's always unexpected costs, even setting up maybe a new cable company contract, or something happens, small repairs in the home that you didn't think you had to make right away, but you do. But at the same time, there's some great benefits to this where hopefully it doesn't break the bank when you purchase a home. So,
very well said.
Yeah. Okay, so any other questions for anyone at this time? We are just at 11 o'clock now, so we're going to, if there are no more questions, I want to wrap this call up. Sounds like we're good. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. It was informative.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Thank you. I appreciate all of you who are able to call in and participate. And just a reminder for anybody that you know that wants to hear this call, it will be posted on our website, calvet.ca.gov/womenvets, as are all of our webinars that we record in previous months. Thank you so much to Walt and Lisa for your time. Couldn't appreciate the program or you guys more. It's a great mission. And then please join us for our next call, which will be Monday, February 1st. From 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. I think we're planning to do VA claims. So we're going to do a quick presentation about filing claims, service-connected type claims, and how to go about that process. So I look forward to speaking with you all about that on February 1st at 10 a.m. Thank you again for joining us. I hope you're having a wonderful new year, and we will talk with you all soon. Take care.
Thank you.